Bitcoin is pumping, but there are still some worrying signs that you need to be aware of. In this video, we'll be going over what's been happening between Russia and Ukraine, and we'll also be touching on the tariff stuff. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. So as I shared, Bitcoin continues to pump, and yes, we are sitting right around $94,000 above the bull market support band, and we also held the 91.8K level as support. Now, zooming out on the Bitcoin chart, the reason why this is a very important level is because it coincides with the previous area of support when Bitcoin was putting in that all-time high all the way up to around $109,000. Now, we can see that on the daily so far, if I zoom in, we wicked all the way down to 91.8K exactly and held it as support. This is ultimately a very positive sign for Bitcoin. But what you also need to consider here is that on the daily time frame, stocks are looking relatively uncertain. Here's the S&P 500. You can see that we got a pretty big pump, but then we retraced that pump and now the candle is barely green. The reason I'm pointing this out is because if stocks end up rolling over here, it's likely, of course, that this could affect Bitcoin. And why are stocks a little bit uncertain? Well, President Trump came out and said that the Ukrainian President Zelensky's comments to the Wall Street Journal are very harmful to the peace negotiations with Russia. Trump says that Zelensky told the Wall Street Journal that Ukraine will not legally recognize the occupation of Crimea. The conflict between Russia and Ukraine is its own separate conflict, but we also have some more developments in terms of tariffs. So it came out earlier today that the White House was considering slashing the China tariffs to 50 to 60% to de-escalate the trade war. This came out by the Wall Street Journal, but Besant came out today and said that there's no unilateral offer from Trump to cut China tariffs. So we're hearing two different stories here. Besant also said that the full China trade deal may take 2 to 3 years. Now, when this news came out, that is exactly when Bitcoin wicked towards this level to try to hold it as support. In terms of technical analysis, this is exactly what you want to see if Bitcoin is to move higher. I don't want to get too excited yet, but this is definitely initial positive signs. And in the meantime, we also had the UK coming out saying that they will not rush the trade talks with the US. So we can see here that there's still a lot of uncertainty and conflict between other countries and the US, but we'll have to see how it develops. And also, here's the global trade outlook that's deteriorating in front of our eyes. The World Trade Organization expects world merchandise trade to fall by 0.2% in 2025, down from a 2.7% growth expected at the beginning of this year. This would follow the 2.9% growth recorded into 2024. North American trade is set to be hit the hardest, while Asia and Europe will continue to see modest growth. The World Trade Organization also highlights that if the US imposes higher reciprocal tariffs after a 90-day pause, global merchandise trade could drop by 1.5% this year. For 2026, the World Trade Organization forecasts a 2.5% growth, down from the previously expected 2.9%. Global trade is experiencing a historic slowdown. I also wanted to touch on Ethereum in this video because if you've been following the channel, you know that we accumulated Ethereum below $1,600 and we accumulated more Ethereum the lower we went. This was previously a very important support level for Ethereum, and what we can see here is that we held it as support multiple times before, and so it only made sense that we would get some kind of bounce for Ethereum here. Now, I'm not saying that the low is for sure in for ETH because its performance has been underwhelming during this bull market, as I'm sure you guys already know, but under $1,600 was a relatively attractive level in terms of risk to reward. And also, if we take a look at the ETH Bitcoin chart, we did talk about this crucial level, which at the time of recording this video, we are holding as support. That level is around 0.0175. And as we can see, we held it as support over here all the way back at the end of 2019. Yes, ETH against Bitcoin really did go that low, and for now we are seeing on the weekly candle a little bit of a bounce here. Now, I don't want to get carried away. Usually for ETH Bitcoin, you want to get the confirmation above the bull market support band, which is between 0.027 to 0.0276. So pretty important level. If we can reclaim this, that would be a massive bounce for ETH Bitcoin. But until we reclaim that level, I would not be confident that the bottom is in for Ethereum against Bitcoin, especially with how monetary policy is currently looking. And speaking of monetary policy, looking at the Fed's balance sheet, as we can see this pink line, it continues to go down, which means that we are still very much in quantitative tightening. When this starts to turn around, that is usually when ETH Bitcoin finds its bottom and then it starts to outperform. As we saw over here back in September 2019, ETH Bitcoin did bottom out for a couple more months afterwards, but then all of a sudden, boom, we started exploding to the upside, going from this key support level that we recently tagged all the way up to just about 0.088, which is massive overperformance for ETH against Bitcoin. I still think that this is entirely possible, but we do need to see that shift in monetary policy. I will, of course, make sure to keep you updated. If you've been watching the channel, we've been following this for a very long time. And also, I need to inform you about this because Trump came out and essentially said that the top 220 Trump holders will be able to register for a Trump dinner with the president himself. This is a scam in my opinion. We saw that the Trump token had a massive pump, and if I go on CoinMarketCap, we can see now that it's at $13, pumping from the low around $9. Now, the reason why they would want their token to pump is because there is a ton of unlocks. You need to pay attention to these kinds of things when it comes to new tokens in the crypto space. The reason why this is important is because as these tokens get unlocked by team members, by advisors, they typically tend to dump them on the market, and obviously that would destroy the price action of the Trump token. So what they're doing now is they're essentially getting you to buy into this token so they can go ahead and dump on you. And if you don't believe me, we can see here that if I scroll down on April 23rd, which is today, we got around 490,000 Trump tokens unlocked, which is around 0.05% of the max supply. Then the same thing will happen tomorrow, April 24th. The same thing on April 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, all the way down into May. Actually, the more I scroll, the scarier this gets. This goes all the way into, wow. Okay, so the token unlocks just continue to go well into summer. So they're doing their best to try to pump the token so they can go ahead and dump it on you. I would highly recommend that you don't buy this project. Not financial advice, of course, but I don't think that it's likely that you will become one of the top 220 holders to have that dinner with the president. It's highly unlikely, especially with all of the team members and advisors involved. But what this could mean is that it could potentially be an excellent short. So if you want to trade this token or the recent Bitcoin price action that we've been talking about on the channel every single day, make sure to click the first link in my description down below, bringing you directly to weeks where you can earn that 20% deposit bonus. That means that if you deposit $1,000 into your week's account, you get $200 back for free for trading. And this is all the way up to $2,000, which would of course require you to deposit $10,000. But again, you leave that balance in your account and you would get the $2,000 for free for trading. Then, if you're a huge trader, of course, you can also earn up to $28,000 by just trading on weeks. It's the first link in my description down below, and all you need is an email and a password to sign up. And that pretty much covers everything I wanted to talk about in this video. So far, we have been holding 91.8K as support, which is very positive. But when I look at the stock market, now red at the time of recording this video, it does worry me because if we roll over, it will certainly not be positive for Bitcoin. I know that people are potentially thinking that we have transitioned into this narrative that Bitcoin is digital gold, but if stocks continue to underperform because there is so much uncertainty in the market, as we're seeing with the shaky developments in terms of tariffs, then we need to consider the downside for Bitcoin. And that sums up this quick video. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.